All right, everybody, welcome to a very special edition here on the Whiskey Gingers podcast. In case you forgot, I'm Brandon, that's Chris, and no, nobody moved. This has just been a long process in the making of the new Whiskey Gingers studio. We built a bar in my backyard and decided, while we're at it, we have a liquor drinking podcast. Why not just make it the studio? So, we apologize for missing a couple of weeks worth of podcasts. We were virtual a couple times, but I hope the wait was worth it. I don't know too many other liquor podcasts that built a set around the premise.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, we've seen some people that we've been on with.
Yeah,
had a pretty nice setup, but it's more of like just a casual lounge area. This is obviously a bar that we're going to be getting a lot of miles out of, not just only for the podcast itself, but just for entertaining at Brandon's place. So we're excited to unveil it to you guys and give us a little bit of a little bit more concrete footing in this industry.
For sure. This was, I'd be lying if I said we built this simply for the podcast. You can't see it on screen. Maybe you can a little bit. Over Chris's shoulder, we do have a beer tap in the back. We have some mini fridges underneath of us, so there is a healthy amount of Corona, Yingling, Miller Lite, seltzers, and of course, we have Yingling on tap. But for the purposes of this podcast, this is going to be like a mecca of whiskey in a sense. So without further ado, we're going to break open the new studio with a brand new bottle of whiskey that neither Chris nor myself has had. It's been a while since we've done that. The last few weeks have been, Jameson was obviously old hat, just something comfortable, the shoe that fits just right. And, before that had been, I had a recommendation, Chris had a recommendation. This is our first Virgin Voyage in quite a while.
Yeah, and I mean, this is supposed to be a very highly rated bottle. This is the Basil Hayden Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey.
Ooh.
And this is supposed to be really good. I've heard good things about it, and it comes at a pretty good price point. I always give it away, so I'm going to let you guess after we have it.
Okay, I like that better.
On it,
I think that's fun.
You always wind up giving me the look, like,
yeah.
I would have guessed that. So I will say, to give you a spoiler, it's a better bang for your buck than you might think.
Okay. And then, we do live stream this for a reason. We could just record it and post it later, but that's no fun. So if you happen to be watching during the live stream, feel free to guess along with us. You can message me. You can quote tweet this. You can comment beneath it. I won't know if you wait until we guess it, but it's more fun if you give me your honest guesses, and we'll see who wins.
We're going to try and interact a little bit more with our Twitter following. We are starting to develop a little bit of a following in the sense that people have been interacting with us, which, by the way, we absolutely appreciate, and we hope to see more people interacting. It's one of the main reasons why we do this anyway, because we like to get the word out there, and we like to hear from you guys as well. So if anybody's watching this and you want to chime in, please message us on Twitter.
And I have, I'm a man of my word. And I have been promising one account in particular, the fine folks over there at Mostly Peaceful Bourbon. I ran a poll or a tweet quite a while ago about it's a funny strip club sign. And, I asked, what are they drinking in this strip club? Like, what's going on? And there were a couple pretty solid replies. Mm-hmm. But in my opinion, nobody had a better one than Mostly Peaceful Bourbon. So the establishment that I'm referring to was the Chicken Ranch Brothel, which was brought to my attention thanks to the Barstool Sports. And I asked, what are they serving? Finest answer gets a shout out in the next episode. Obviously, the bar build took a little longer than we thought. Yeah. But the people over at Mostly Peaceful Bourbon brought me the Chicken Cock Double Oak Whiskey.
That's amazing.
And there was no need for any more insertions, any more options. That was the one. So shout out to the boys and girls and whoever's over there at Mostly Peaceful Bourbon. That was the funniest one by a mile.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and transition over to the Basil Hayden. It's a really cool looking bottle. I mean, one of the probably the only negative to us switching up camera situations here is a little bit further away, so it's probably a little harder to see. But the bottle is absolutely gorgeous. It's
got a metal ring if you can't tell, or copper ring.
Really
it looks
cool.
like.
It looks like almost as if it was a barrel.
Yeah.
That they would wrap the metal ring around. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this sucker open.
That was pretty nice. Yeah. I enjoyed that thoroughly.
Nice little.
Hope you guys did at home too.
There. I'm gonna give it a little taste, see how it is.
Now this is one of those ones where, I'm a gamer. I don't take days off. I don't take sick days. So I'm gonna give you my review in the moment anyway. But just off the bat, I think this is one that I'm going to have to try again, possibly tomorrow. I did have something called sweet and spicy habanero chicken for lunch. I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a little heartburn going into this.
Yeah, well,
so,
you know what? You got to put some hair on the chest anyway.
This may burn more than it typically does, and my apologies to the people at Basil Hayden.
Cheers to you.
Cheers. Well, that is goddamn delicious.
Oh, wow. It's really good.
That's really fucking
really
good.
Like it, yeah.
Wow.
I just noticed it's really funny. I feel like pointing it out that there's a sticker still left on his glass from purchasing. We had to buy some new equipment.
Well,
because typically we're shooting this at my place.
Yeah.
And I have quite the assortment of glassware for these things. And Brandon's just getting into the game. So,
yeah, it's not that I don't drink a lot of whiskey on my own. I do, but it's never for tasting purposes. Yeah. So I have what you call like getting the job done glasses. And
getting the job done glasses.
We shot all these episodes at Chris's, so any innovations in the glass industry, we left at his place.
Yeah, I mean, I like the glasses. You said you got these for cheap, and they say whiskey extra special on the front.
Yeah,
and I have to say this is an extra special bottle of whiskey. I like
it. It is really freaking good, dude.
It tastes super good. It's I mean,
it's impressive to look at.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a cool looking bottle. It's 40% alcohol bottle. It's bottled in Kentucky, so that's pretty cool. I don't think there's much craziness going on. I mean, this is a very well-known brand of whiskey.
We're just late to the game, I guess.
We're just late to the game.
Okay.
It says that it's got
Wouldn't be the first time.
Notes of sweet brown sugar, black pepper, and charred oak. Which, I mean, the char I always taste.
The charred oak, I get. The black pepper, to me, would feel like it had more. You would think it had more of a kick to it. This is a really smooth, refreshing, I don't know, laid back whiskey. I didn't get any of the. I didn't get the black pepper necessarily.
I would say so too. I think it was really good. I was curious if it had like any aging information on it or anything, but I don't know if it does. Artfully aged. No, it doesn't have an aging on it, but typically the bourbons are aged for less time, but that's okay.
Chris, do you have us live on Twitter by any chance?
Live on Twitter?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't believe so.
Isn't it?
Oh no, I just looked. I'm asking on the StreamYard broadcast.
Gotcha.
Did you select our Twitter and our YouTube?
Maybe I didn't.
You might not have.
How do I do that?
Scroll, go up a little bit to the next to the edit. Pardon us, folks. You might not even be watching this actually. So go to the line next to it, and it appears that we're just on YouTube. So why don't we add us on Twitter there, and we'll run this back.
How do I do that?
So go over the little so to the right of the YouTube icon where you're like
right here.
Nope, one over. There you go. There's Whiskey Gingers. Alrighty. Well, okay. We'll see how this goes because all right. Shit.
Now
we're
live on
Twitter. Fuck. All right. So here we go.
Quick
recap for everybody because we were live on YouTube and nobody looked for us on YouTube. So, in a nutshell, we introed the new bar, which is going to be the home studio for Whiskey Gingers every other week. So we're still going to shoot at Chris's location with our bottle shelf in the back. And then every other week, we will be here at the bar setup. So 2 studios. Not many people have one. We have 2, thankfully. And I wanted to shout out the Mostly Peaceful Bourbon account for their submission of Chicken Cock Whiskey as the official whiskey of a brothel in Las Vegas. So shout out to them and the people over at Chicken Cock Whiskey. I apologize. That's not what you wanted to be associated with, but you are now.
Yep, that's how it is.
After that, we jumped into a very impressive bottle of Basil Hayden with a really cool copper ring around it, supposedly trying to replicate a barrel in a bottle in a sense. And we just had I was going to lie and say we didn't taste it yet, but cat's out of the bag. So we did taste it. We'll do it again for you guys. Cheers. Yep, still delicious.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome to the last 9 minutes of this podcast.
Just as good the second time around.
Yeah, you guys got the abridged version, but we hit all the same key points.
Yep, we just have the wrong person in charge of the podcast today, so apologies on my front for not including. But as we said in the beginning, to anybody that is following along with us now on Twitter, we've noticed a lot more engagements on Twitter and people actually responding to us and kind of having those conversations with us. So we want to keep that going.
Absolutely.
If anybody feels the need while they're watching this live to chime in and shoot us some chats, we'd be more than happy to answer those if we get around to it or if we see them on here. So we're looking forward to that. But no, I mean, getting back to the matter at hand here, this is a really good bourbon. I like it a lot.
It's super good. I mean, from the genesis of this podcast, you and I were both self-proclaimed not necessarily bourbon people. And I mean, it's definitely changed over the course of the podcast. Like we've definitely softened up to it. We've had a couple of bourbons that we really do enjoy. Wiggle, which is ironic because the first whiskey we ever did on this podcast was a bourbon, and it was Wiggle. And that's
true.
Honestly, up until this one, I think Wiggle was my favorite bourbon at the time. But I don't, for me at least, it's not really that close between Basil, Hayden, and Wiggle. I thoroughly enjoy this.
You think so?
For me,
more than Wiggle.
For me, it's more than Wiggle.
I think it's smoother.
Yeah, and I value that a lot in the whiskey.
Yeah, I think it goes down really easy. Some of the Wiggles can be pretty rough.
Well, we ran it back with a different Wiggle, right? We've done 2 Wiggles on this?
No, we only did one. I know what you're thinking.
Oh, you were going to do another Wiggle.
We did a Bluebird.
Yeah, which I really wanted to love, and I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, like, I love Bluebird's Old Fashions. I think they're great. But that Bluebird Straight was pretty, like, I don't know, it was pretty rough going down.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I mean, there must be a wizard with their old fashioned. And look, I still love Bluebird. I mean, Bluebird Distilling is up the road from me. I go all the time. They make killer cocktails. I expected better out of the bourbon. But
maybe it doesn't fit their bill. You know what I mean? People might not be going in there getting whiskey straight or whiskey neat very often. And if that's the case, then maybe they don't need to tailor for that. They just tailor their whiskey to be good in mixers and old fashions.
And it is. It's a phenomenal old fashioned.
And also, I think that there's more than one bourbon that they produce there. So we could have just had one that isn't.
Yeah, we had the 4-grain bourbon, something like that.
Yeah.
I'll
so
have to look and see if they do others.
But either way, I think that this is really good. So the ultimate leading question comes in at, I didn't tell you what the price is. I only gave you the hint that this is a good bang for your buck.
Okay.
I'll give you a price range. Like give me a $10 price range that you think this falls in from like X to X.
Between 35 and 45.
That's pretty good. That's right on the money, actually.
Okay.
So this whiskey, and I mean that's an easy pick because that is a good bang for your buck range right there. Mm-hmm. But I believe this bottle I got for like 43 something. So it was pretty easily up there in the good bang for your buck market, in my opinion. Yeah,
I mean, for $43 of a great whiskey that you can kind of be, you can be proud to to show people I'll never turn down any whiskey, but if I go to someone's house and they offer me a Jameson, I love Jameson. It doesn't make the ride home conversation. It's not, oh, do you believe they had this?
Yeah.
The Basil Hayden, though, and I mean, you and I both drink a lot of whiskey, so the fact we both haven't had it, I'm sure it's popular, but it's not that popular if we would have had it.
Well, in our defense, it's a matter of we weren't bourbon drinkers for a long time, and I don't want to consider myself an exclusive bourbon drinker because that's not true.
No.
But I have been enjoying a lot more bourbons, and there's been plenty that I haven't. So I still stand true that I typically tend to enjoy more Irish and Scotches than I enjoy the bourbons.
Yeah.
Like if I look at them statistically. But I will say that I've found a lot more bourbons that I've enjoyed, and I think that's just for exploration and adventure. Like we've tried more, so clearly we're going to find more that we like on our palate. And I would always have Wiggle. I think
I'd never turn down a Wiggle bourbon.
Never turn down a Wiggle, and I think that this is up there definitely as well for me. Like if somebody offered this to me again, I would definitely take it in a heartbeat.
So the question, I guess, would be, because we're diehard, Irish whiskey guys, and I'm not going to change. I still am. This and Wiggle are so enjoyable to the point that, so let's say, let's take Jameson because it's kind of what we've treated as the baseline. There's been some Irish whiskeys we've had, like Writer's Tears being one of them, that's just
stellar,
so incredible that it's not fair to compare it to these.
Yeah.
But if someone's at your house, like, hey, look, I have Jameson, I have Basil Hayden, I got Wiggle, what do you want?
It might make me take a double take, honestly.
I honestly think I would probably take either Basil Hayden or Wiggle, and just because I can get my
it as much, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah, and it's every bit as good as Jameson to me. And I don't have it in stock, so I think I would take that.
I think that makes a lot of sense to me, too, because it's not like, I mean, I have a lot of stock of whiskeys now, but usually the good ones go.
Yeah.
And then I don't have them, so if somebody offered this to me again, I'd be like, yeah, sure, no problem.
The one I do still have, because, typically again, we shot this at Chris's a lot, so oftentimes he would buy the whiskey because it was at his place. And the ones that I've brought have always been kind of like one-offs a little bit. Like the one that was modeled after the New York subway was just kind of cool. I didn't think it'd be great. It was cool.
That was a cool bottle.
It was. And then there was one where obviously Sheepdog is, the bottom of the barrel. But we did Quiet Man not that long ago. And I've actually been hitting that pretty hard in my personal stash. Yeah, I thoroughly have enjoyed Quiet Man.
I don't think I've enjoyed most of the ones that we've had on the show.
Me too.
There's only been a handful that we definitely.
Bastille wasn't very good. Sheepdog wasn't very good.
In my house. I want to get rid of it.
I hate to say it. I mean, for me, the 4-grain Bluebird was in the not very good category.
Yeah,
I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean that's sitting in my house right now too. And honestly, I want to make it as an old fashioned and see if maybe that's what I was missing. But again, I don't know if that was the real whiskey there. Like
what they used in the old fashioned.
It could be different in what they use in the old fashioned. So I don't really know.
That's very true.
Yeah.
I would look it up if it wasn't such bad television. I would look it up, but I don't want to be distracted on the air.
Did we get anybody chiming in? This is going to make us look bad when there's nobody on there, but we could always look.
Okay, so we're not just completely conceited. We've had a couple of people go, "Hey, we would love to interact with you guys more, but you don't check your messages while you're live," which are bad. I sometimes forget we're live, but at least in today, outside of again our good friends at Mostly Peaceful Bourbon. We're kind of chatting us during the day. And shout out to the homie Mike. Yeah. Mike, who's always helping us build our page. Mike has interacted with us, but
we always appreciate it. Any little bit helps, We're always willing to come on somebody else's show or
which reminds me,
send a little follow.
In the coming weeks, keep an eye out for us on a bunch of different podcasts that we have been kind of working on. So Mile High Bourbon and Rye. If you follow that account, we will be with them the first week of August, I believe. And then also keep an eye out for us on the Fib Whiskey account. We're working on a kind of home-and-home situation with them. So we'll be here. We'll be other places. We're trying to bring more content for you guys. So just keep an eye out for those collabs coming up.
We do this as a fun piece of time for Brandon and I to get together and have some whiskey. And, interact with you all, which is always great. And
we've tried more whiskey than I don't know about you.
It's diversified crazily.
I get in a rut. I knew I liked Irish whiskey. That's all I bought. This has forced us to try stuff I would have never bought otherwise.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, no, I mean, this is totally night and day for me trying things out because I was very limited. And I mean, at this point, I'm not even exaggerating. I probably have 35, 40 bottles of whiskey in the house.
And we've tried different continents. We're global with the whiskey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those are the ones that surprised me the most, for the most part.
We were just at the bar.
Those Japanese ones, we just picked out the bottle of Japanese whiskey we reviewed quite a few weeks ago. We saw it at the bar that we were just at, which was cool because, it means, hey, this is something that's globally reaching out there. And maybe we tried it before it was coming into the main light, which is cool for me.
Yeah. And it shows that, look, this isn't a shtick. We're not the whiskey space is this. We'll hop on. Chris and I quite literally got off work, went to a bar together, came to this podcast. So what you're seeing on screen isn't okay, let's fall in the character. It's a typical day for us.
Yep.
Speaking of which, give me that bottle if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
For once.
Brandon's adventurous because
I'm not driving home this time.
A, he likes it, and B, he doesn't have to drive home.
Yeah, it's delicious.
That's great.
But, for those of you who have been listening for a while, we've rambled on a bit more than usual. Part of it's been plugging the podcast because, bars ain't free. And, if anybody out there wants to sponsor the podcast, we'd be more than welcome. But we're going to stop pandering. We'll get to my favorite part of the show, and that is the Let's Drink About a topic. And
we need a soundtrack in the back for a clap or something.
I agree. I'm looking into getting some license-free music, but
a soundboard.
That would be really cool. I get down with the soundboard. But the cool thing for me this week about doing Let's Drink About It is the reason we put this thing together was it's the conversations you have with your buddies at the bar when you've already loosened up a little bit.
Yeah.
And this is the truest realization of that because we're both a glass of whiskey in, we're with our buddies, and we're at this is the way it was meant to be. Yeah.
Yep.
So without further ado, let's hit it.
So today on Let's Drink About It, we're going to talk about hot or cold. And more specifically, we're talking about what kind of weather you like out there. I mean, do you like it when it's 95 degrees and humid? There are people that like that. There's people that like it when it's 10 degrees all the time. What is your stance here? Or are you a middle ground person?
Yeah,
you like those oddball months in our area at least, we don't really get a huge spring or
No.
fall, but we do get spring and fall.
Thank God.
So what is your time of year?
I come alive in probably September through November. I'm not a winter guy. Winter sucks. Everybody out there who's got 9 to 5s who's still going into the office. First of all, I'm with you. Just the fact that you leave your house at 8, get home at 6 because 9 to 5 down 9 to 5. You don't see the sun. I'm an outdoors guy. I like to go kayaking, I like to go fishing, I like to go hiking, I like to take my dog out. So I don't like the winter. I don't like darkness from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. On the flip side, the summer sucks.
It's for the birds.
Yeah, I mean, look, I used to love the summer when I was in college and didn't have to work in the summers, or you could do a side hustle in the summer. I go down the beach. I go, wow, you want to go to the Jersey Shore Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? Hell yeah. When you're an adult with responsibilities and you can't escape the heat in the summer, it blows, dude.
Summer was much better when you were younger.
Absolutely. I mean, because I live in an old house. Air conditioning's not great, and like I said, you can't pick a Tuesday and go to the beach to cool off. So it's you don't get the time off you used to get in the summers. It just sucks. So for me, September, October, November, I'm killing it. I'm in a hoodie. I'm in maybe shorts some days. It's great. And then March, April, May, I'm in. June, July, and August can kick rocks.
June, and I don't actually, this year we've been pretty lucky in our area as far as June goes. June was pretty comfortable.
Yeah, June wasn't bad.
I didn't think it was that bad. We had a lot of cool weather.
Cool nights, too.
It felt to me like this was the longest spring that we've had in a long time, which was nice because I agree with you. Spring and fall are my two favorite times of the year. Mm-hmm. I actually think I like fall better than I like spring. Me too.
You got football in the fall. You got camping.
Yeah. It's like a vibe. It's like a time of the year that I really enjoy, and I also just enjoy. It is a bit colder. For me, I'm okay with that, and it takes you get nice crisp mornings, and then you get a nicer temperature during the day, and then it gets nice and cool at night too. Mm-hmm. So it's perfect for early morning hikes. Yeah, because you can wear a jacket with you to get started in the morning,
and then shed it as you warm up
as you're going. Mm-hmm. It's perfect for campfires and stuff in the nighttime. Camping is great at that time of the year. I love the fall. I think the fall is the best time of the year. Summer can literally go kick rocks for me because in construction it's miserable. Yeah. So being outside for any amount of time in the summer working is not fun.
And that's funny you mentioned that. That's actually where you and I differ, because I hated summer less last year because I was construction adjacent in retail sales, but also retail design, because we were obviously Chris and wife had the same job I did. That's how we met. You were building stuff, you were working with your hands, and I would leave that job and then go to my landscaping business. Yeah. And I loved being outside in the summer because I knew don't get me wrong, in the moment it sucked, but you'd come home all sweaty and hot and tired, but you knew dude, I just burned 3,000 calories. If I want to get a pizza tonight, who cares? Yeah. And we're the same that way. Where I complain about hard work, but at the same time, I feel great after doing it. Yeah. Now that I'm in an office in the summer, I'm just hot. I'm not burning any calories. I'm not accomplishing anything. I'm just hot.
We know what it is for me. It's in the summertime, there's no better time of the year for you get home from a hard day's work and it's beer o'clock or a glass of whiskey or something. Yeah. The winter isn't quite the same. I don't ever come home from work in the winter and been man, I could really use an ice cold beer right now. I like that, but when it's summertime and you've been sweating for 8-10 hours and you're ready for a shower and a cold beer, there's nothing better than a shower beer at the end of the day in the summer.
But you bring up a good point. And since our last episode, we ran this poll, and I got some interesting answers. I'm a big believer, and look, I get it. It's July. We're outside. We're drinking whiskey. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. That, for me, what you just described, that's where whiskey kicks in. Yeah. In the summers, I want a nice cold beer out of my tap when I come home. But in the winter, I come home. I'm cold. I'm tired. That's where whiskey for me hits just different.
Yep. It definitely hits that. It checks that checkbox.
It does.
That I think sometimes it doesn't check in the summertime. I mean, you put whiskey on ice, and it's definitely a lot better. Like you make a little mixer or something,
Yeah.
do a little whiskey ginger ale or something like that, or an old
Whiskey and
fashioned.
tea. I know you're not a tea guy. Whiskey and a good sweet
Yeah.
tea is just
That'll definitely do you in the summertime. But to your point, if you're just having a glass of whiskey, the winter or the fall really is like campfire whiskey
different.
is definitely the best. I know that wasn't necessarily. I guess it is kind of what we're talking about.
It is absolutely.
But like campfire whiskey is probably some of my favorite whiskey.
Me too. Like, you know, take the listener behind the fourth wall. I mean, we do an annual camping trip around October. And
do an annual camping trip is loose.
Well, we've done it one year.
And we're planning.
We're in the midst of planning another one. It's going to happen.
I love it. Yeah.
But man, I mean, you know, we're sitting around a fire, and I think for the weekend I brought 6 PBR because I knew at a certain point I was going to need to land the plane. Like, you can't go straight whiskey we started drinking at 5. Like, I couldn't go whiskey for the next 7 hours.
It might have been before that, honestly.
But
we were listening to the game. I think it was like at 3.
It was really, we started drinking early, and I knew if I went whiskey for 7-8 hours that no one was going to want to be in a tent with me. But, dude, that first 2 or 3 rounds where you're sitting around a bonfire with your buddies, you're shooting the shit, you're solving the world's problems. This is why this sucks. This person sucks. You know, America was better when this was happening. And you're just working a bottle around. Yeah. I mean, there's the shower beers ranked, the airport beers ranked. Yeah. But, man, a bonfire whiskey's right up there.
It's definitely good. And we were spoiled last year when we went on our camping trip because the Phillies were in the playoffs or going into the playoffs because of the game that we were listening to. I think that's what it was. They were getting into the playoffs because of the game that they were playing.
No, we were in the playoffs already because we went mid-October.
But either way, it was a playoff game. It might have been the game that put them into the next round. I don't remember what the situation was.
They beat the Braves to move on. And then,
but that was basically the only technology we had out there at the time was the radio.
That's key.
It was the radio, which is an important thing. I think you need to disconnect a little bit. But in that case, we knew the game was going on. We had to listen to it. We had 2 people with us that were supreme Philly sports fans that had to listen to it. And I was kind of like against it in the beginning. And then the more we were listening, the more hype it was getting. It actually took me back to a place where like, wow, this is how like previous generations would have listened to these games, and it was a really fun experience.
It was.
You would think that listening to a baseball game on the radio would be miserable.
No.
But honestly, the hype was there every single time because normally when you're watching on TV, you might like miss something or you might look away. I was dialed in to what this announcer was talking about the whole time. You picked up way more information on the radio podcast for it or the radio broadcast for it than you would have ever on TV.
Exactly. And, you know, we kind of needed it, to be honest, because we all had the right idea. We're like, look. So the way it worked out was we partied at Chris's the night before. All the guys were like, all right, we're getting up at like 6:30 and we're leaving. And we were pretty close. Like for being pretty banged up, I think we were on the road at 7. Yeah. So we got up to the campsite. We were like, all right, what are we going to do? Beautiful campsite, middle of fall foliage. All of our PA listeners know the fall in PA in Royal PA is amazing. Right up there with the West, I would say. Yeah. So, you know, we did a hike, looked at the leaves, threw the pigskin around, and we were having just a day of days. And we looked at the clock, and it was 3. And we looked at each other, and we were like, well, what the fuck do we do now?
Collected a ton of firewood, and then we started drinking and listening to sports.
But we needed it. Like, realistically, if we didn't have that game, I mean, we would have just been alone with our thoughts for the next 7 hours.
We would have just shot the shit about random stuff, listen to some music or whatever. But you know what it was, too? The collecting of the wood was the catalyst for me to say, I definitely need a beer.
Oh, yeah.
Once we were collecting all that firewood, I was like, we need a beer.
Yeah. And
pronto.
Just again, kind of getting the sense of like the character you talk about on the show. Like at one point, me, Jeff, who we've referenced often, was on that camping trip, and Chris all had jobs where it was like everyman jobs. You were working with contractors, you were building closets, like everyman normal jobs. Since that time, Jeff and I both moved into office roles. So being able to like be out in the woods and split wood and build a fire, you laugh because you're still doing it. It felt so good. I felt like I felt like my forefathers weren't embarrassed. Oh, gosh, I was like, God, this feels good again. Like, you know, we're cooking burgers out on
that a little bit.
You do. You absolutely do.
By the way, the burgers and the dogs over the open fire, nothing makes you feel better in life than having a fresh cooked burger or hot dog right on the flames, man. Like, that was the best. And we had that fire cooking
Well, that was we had the fire cooking, and we had Jeff, who's like a pseudo chef. So
much better than either of us.
Absolutely. And most people would be like, just throw it on the grate. We'll cook it that way. Jeff, this man, when we brought, don't get me your wife's. We had a cast iron, we're doing burgers the way you would get them at one of those fancy gastro pubs for $17 a burger.
That was really the only tools we brought there. Really was the cast iron skillet, a spatula, and we brought some wood, and that was basically it.
Yeah.
And thank goodness we brought the wood because it had rained a shit ton the day before, and all the regular wood that was all the downfall stuff that was in the forest was totally wet to the core.
Yeah, we would have been in a jam.
We built up a huge fire with the dry wood, and then by the time the embers were hot on that, you could have thrown anything in that fire.
And it didn't matter.
Which, by the way, tip 101, that's how you keep your fire going. You need those embers going, and then you can basically burn anything.
Yeah, we did. I'm trying to remember back. I could be completely wrong. We might have brought for 3 people. We might have gotten a 6-pack of waters at a Sunoco. Because I remember I was using PBR for water.
No, I think we might have. I think we got gallons. We got
Oh, you're right. We each got a gallon of water. I knew it was ass backwards in some capacity.
Bottles just in general, but I think we each got a gallon as well.
I just remember having a PBR with breakfast because either we killed the waters or we didn't buy enough water.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, because you wake up tired and I'm like, what do we have? And you're like, we have PBR. I was like, fuck. All right. I guess it's a PBR kind of breakfast.
Not to mention that you and I were up at the ass crack of dawn, pre-dawn.
Look, if you're camping, and we were camping, we weren't at
state forest. There was nothing out there.
No, and the state forest we were in active hunting lands. So you had people in 99 4-runners rolling by us with the windows down at 3, 4 in the morning. So Chris and I were both up at 4, pretended to be asleep till 5. At a certain point, we were like, look, dude, are you up? Yeah, you up? Would you feel better with a fire? Yeah.
I think I sneezed once, and you're like, hey, you up?
Yeah. I was like, thank God.
Not to mention, we picked a decent spot on our plot to camp.
But we were right on the road.
We were downhill. So that
we kept rolling into each other.
It was just a weird sleeping arrangement. Jeff was passed out until 7, 8 o'clock.
Look, we give Jeff a lot of shit on this podcast. I gotta say, that kid has balls of steel.
He was sitting out by himself with the campfire until 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, because you
hanging out.
You and I were like,
at 1.
Yeah, it was 1 a.m. I was like, all right, dude, I'm gonna turn it in, and you were like, oh, thank God, I'm going with you. Yeah. And Jeff was like, I'm going to stay up. I was like, do you have a death wish?
It was funny. Everybody can come out here and say, they feel the manliest person on the planet or they're super tough. When you're out in the middle of the forest.
When that sun goes down?
Yeah, there is no light. When we tell you, you're not near any light pollution at all.
No.
So, when it's dark in the forest and there's nothing out there, it's black in front of your face. I couldn't see Brandon as far away as we are right now. With how dark it was out there, the only light that was coming off was the fire.
Yeah, and until the fire got going, we couldn't see across across the circle from each other. That I don't care how manly you think you are, that will pucker your butthole up.
It was definitely interesting for sure. And then it was really funny. It was active bear country. There's bears
for
in
sure.
That area.
Couldn't buy bear spray anywhere.
We didn't think about buying bear mace before we left. Not to say that would have saved our lives, but it'd be nice to know you had something. Better. And we were thinking about it. We're like, yeah, we'll just get it at a Walmart when we get off. Not realizing we were driving so far into rural PA that we literally didn't have a Walmart for another hour out of our way.
Yeah.
So we're like, yeah, we're not doing that. We're going to take our chances. So
this
year we're going to get a little bit of bear mace.
Yeah, which in hindsight, look at it this way. Let's say we went camping, you and I survived, Jeff gets mauled by a bear. It would have looked real bad if you and I were like, look, we could have got bear mace, would have been an extra hour drive.
Yeah.
Jeff
still would have been here.
Yeah, we looked at we valued all of our lives and said, you know what? An hour is kind of a lot.
We were just ready to get started with the day.
Yeah, and look, all things considered, bears, stupid as it sounds, that it does, they're also afraid of people. Unless you happen to catch the nightmare scenario where it's a mother and her cubs, then she'll end your day.
Yeah.
Other than that, my brother lives in Wyoming. I've seen 7, 8 bears while fishing.
Yeah.
you get up on your cooler, you yell real loud, you put your arms up, and the bear more often than not moves away. That's not to say I was like, oh, bears, we're gonna be fine. I was still sweating, but
yeah.
I mean, I didn't think we were in imminent danger.
No, it was a fun camping trip. The only difference that we're going to do this time is we're definitely going to camp near a river or some type of water source. Because last time we didn't, and it would have been so nice to be able to throw a fishing rod in for a while.
Although I do love that you brought that up on the tail end of how afraid of bears we are.
What's better? It's different. We're not fishing for like trout and salmon, like depending on where we are.
It doesn't matter if we're catching. If there's trout in the water, it's still a problem.
I guess, yeah. Who knows? But we digress. We're just reminiscing on
some camping
trips. We will definitely let you guys know how the next one goes, assuming we don't lose Jeff. We might want to talk about it if
That's
we lose
true.
Jeff on the next one.
The one thing I won't do, which, a lot of podcasts that I follow, they're like, oh, we're going to do like a trip. We'll bring you guys with us. I love our listeners. We've been doing better. We're getting like, 25, 30. Thank you all you guys to listen. We ain't bringing you. I'm not.
It's our disconnect.
Yeah, I am disconnecting. You guys can send us questions, whatever. We'll deal with it after. I'm not bringing you.
Maybe we could do a post where we could pre-record something while we're out there.
That's different.
As a cheers or a quick thing. Maybe we'll try. We'll do like a kind of our whiskey tasting segment of our show while we're out there. We'll take like 5 minutes to do it, and we'll record it, and we'll put it up after we get back. But that would be probably the only extent that I would imagine we would do.
That's an option. We could always do a fun one. Could be maybe like an on the road.
Yeah.
We'll mount it to my dash or something, and we'll go. Me, you, and Jeff will go live from the road on the way to camping or something, and then we'll do like a follow up on the way back. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we're looking into October now.
Keep an eye out for that, and we'll see what we can come up. But we're trying to get everybody involved in our community here, and we're trying to build the community. So if you guys have any suggestions, please let us know. And again, keep interacting because it makes a big difference for us.
Yeah, there's a guy I've got a shout out on here. Mostly Peaceful Bourbon is actually actively listening. So shout out to you boys, girls, whatever. I sincerely appreciate it.
You peeps.
Yeah, whatever. Dude, okay, there's one guy it's 36 minutes. We'll run it to 40. There's a guy on Twitter who deserves a lot more attention than Chris and I get even. His name's Jeff, the Colorado whiskey guy. And we're not even tight. We've messaged 3 times, but I watch all this dude's videos. So if if you watch us on Twitter, he's at CO Whiskey Guy. He doesn't know I'm doing this. I don't know if you've seen his videos. We share the account. This dude, sometimes in the mornings, will do his daily dram of whiskey. It's a foreign term that I don't understand. We call it a shot here in the U.S. where, freedom flies. Anyway, my man does it from his car.
Oh, gosh.
Like, you and I have studios. We have set times. We have stools we're sitting in. The dedication to your whiskey podcast to do a daily drink from the car is absolutely incredible. And like I said, he doesn't know we're doing this. He's a super busy guy. We're gonna try and work out a podcast together. But at CO Whiskey Guy, go check out his videos. I'm gonna show Chris. I don't think he's seen one. I mean, this dude is proper in the vehicle.
That's lovely.
If the cops are listening, he stopped.
Yeah, he's at work. He's waiting to walk into work. That may not be the best alibi either. He's getting back from the night shift. He's going into his house. He's parked in his driveway. Yeah,
and the interesting thing about it is, because he's way smarter than I am, I'm out here thinking this dude's drinking in the car, which would be illegal. So Chris and I do the research on these brands with the reward of being able to drink them. My man Jeff just does the research.
Oh, yeah?
He doesn't drink.
Oh, he's not drinking?
No.
Never mind.
So he's online looking up all these super obscure whiskeys and just not even getting the payoff of getting slightly buzzed. No, I'm sure he does. But
that is a great informational channel. If you guys would like to check them out and support them, that'd be great too. Again, they don't know we're shouting them out, but we're just trying to help the community in general. It seems like the whiskey community is an awesome community to be a part of. We're happy to be a part of it, so we want to help out any way we can.
Absolutely. So, before we sign off, we're at 38 minutes. A couple other people who have been kind of hooking us up lately. Anybody in the Philly area, the citywide special is back on for the summer. We've talked about it a couple other times. And our friends over at Kenwood, we did an episode with them about 2 months ago. They're pinned on top of our page. Kenwood is part of citywide special. So any of my Philly peeps, if you get your whiskey in the city, at a Kenny, they're the homies. They're the best. I also wanted to shout out the Mile High Bourbon and Rye. they came on with us 2 weeks ago. We'll be on with them in a couple weeks. And shout out to Fib Whiskey. And you would know better. So if you guys are like real fans of the pod, probably 4th episode in, we had Chris's buddy Mike come on. And Mike used to do like this. I love Mike. Mike's the man. He used to do this like lifestyle page where it was like workout videos and smoothies and how to eat. I'm sure he still does.
Yeah.
Chances are, if you're watching a whiskey podcast, you might not be the kind of person who watches a lifestyle podcast about lifting. I'm not either.
Yeah.
Mike's coming into our space. What is he doing?
He's doing he used to do something on Instagram. It was, he called it his Riley's Tasting Room, and he used to review local beers in the area and in the New Jersey area. So he's branching that into YouTube. So he just came out with his channel. I just subscribed to it today on my personal channel. We'll be giving it a plug at some point. We'd like to get him back on here and get that going. But he's getting into our market. He's probably going to be much more successful at it than we are, if we're being honest.
More than likely.
But either way, it doesn't matter. We'd like to give him a shout out, and we'll probably either have him on us or we'll be, going on one of his episodes for something. But I'm going to be in touch with him for a little bit. But we want to give him a shout out. Mike's been a long time listener and also a big supporter of the show, so we want to give a shout out to him as well.
Yeah, so shout out to Mike, shout out to Mile High Bourbon and Rye, shout out to Fib, and shout out to the best beer in the Philadelphia area, Kenwood Original. That's all I got for the evening. What about
shout out to all of our fans.
Yeah, shout out to the homies. Major shout out to Basil Hayden.
They knocked it out of the park with this one. This one I definitely recommend. $43 bottle.
God, is it good, dude?
Get it.
It is. For the money, I'll put it this way. For the money, it's Writer's Tears good. It's not as good as Writer's Tears, but it's the best.
Writer's Tears is like almost $70 bottle.
Exactly. For my money, that's the best $40 you can spend on bourbon.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm Brandon. That's Chris. Welcome to the new set. This is Whiskey Gingers.
Thanks, guys.
See you later.